This is the English service of Radio Algeria International. It's time for the news.
Foreign Minister Ahmed Attaf has held bilateral meeting with the UN Secretary-General Special Envoy for Western Sahara, Staffan de Mistura, a day before his visit to the Sahrawi refugee camps. Algeria's permanent representative to the UN office in Geneva, Rachid Belhadane, called on the international community to urgently take concrete actions to put an end to the Israeli occupation's violation of the Palestinians' human rights. The Revolutionary Guards of the Islamic Republic of Iran have announced the launch of missiles against Zionist enemy positions in occupied Palestine. Those were the major developments. Now the full news edition. Good afternoon. The President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, has received messages from various heads of states congratulating him for his re-election for a second term. Jalmil Salmani has the details.
The President of Burkina Faso, Ibrahim Traoré, has congratulated the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, on the occasion of his re-election for a second term, wishing him every success in his duties, according to a press release issued by the Presidency of the Republic. In his message of congratulations, President Ibrahim Traoré expressed his willingness and commitment to strengthen relations of friendship and cooperation between Algeria and Burkina Faso. President Tebboune has also received a message of congratulations from the President of Zambia, Hakainde Hichilema, on the occasion of his re-election for a second term, in which he emphasized his desire to pursue cooperation between the two countries in areas of common interest. For his part, the President of the Republic of Croatia, Zoran Milanovic, has congratulated the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, on the occasion of his re-election for a second term in office, according to a press release issued by the Presidency of the Republic. The congratulatory message says, Mr. President, on behalf of the people of the Republic of Croatia and on my own behalf, I extend to you my warmest congratulations on the occasion of your re-election as President of the Republic of Algeria, wishing you every success in your noble duties.
The President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, has received a telephone call from his Mauritanian counterpart, Mohamed Ould Sheikh El Ghazouani, during which they discussed bilateral relations and the situation in the region. On the occasion, the Mauritanian President informed the President of the Republic of the visit he would be making to Libya, a sister country, in the company of his brother, the President of the Republic of Congo, Denis Sassou Nguesso, at the invitation of the President of the Libyan Presidential Council, Younes El Menfi, in order to reconcile points of view on the solution in Libya. For his part, President Tebboune welcomed this initiative led by the current chairman of the African Union, Mohamed Ould Sheikh El Ghazouani, and Denis Sassou Nguesso, the Congolese president in charge of the reconciliation in Libya at the African Union, wishing the Libyan brothers success in their reconciliation. The Chief of Staff of the People's National Army ANP, Army General Said Cengireha, is on an official visit to Italy at the invitation of the Italian Defense Chief of Staff, Admiral Giuseppe Cavo Dragone. On his arrival at Rome International Airport, the Army General and his accompanying delegation were received by Admiral Inspector Gino Mazzei in the presence of the Algerian ambassador to Italy. The visit is part of the strengthening of the cooperation between the People's National Army and the Italian Armed Forces, during which issues of common interest will be examined. The Minister of Energy and Mines, Mohamed Arkab, takes part today via video conference in the proceedings of the 56th Joint Ministerial Monitoring Committee. During this meeting, the ministers in charge of oil will examine the implementation of production cut commitments for the months of July and August 2024, in line with the decisions adopted by OPEC Plus countries as part of their joint efforts to stabilize the oil market. The meeting will also discuss recent developments in the international oil market and its short-term outlook. And now, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and the National Community Abroad, Ahmed Attaf, has held talks in New York with the Secretary-General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres. On the occasion, the Minister reaffirmed Algeria's support for the Secretary-General's efforts to defend the principles of the United Nations Charter and to serve the causes of peace and development in the world. The meeting was an opportunity to examine the current international issues, notably the developments in the Zionist aggression against the Palestinian people and its extension to Lebanon and the rest of the Middle East. The two parties also exchanged views on developments in the regional situation, notably the question of decolonization in Western Sahara. The Foreign Affairs Minister also held bilateral talks in New York with the United Nations Under-Secretary General for Political Affairs and Peacebuilding, Rosemary DiCarlo. The meeting enabled the two parties to exchange views on a number of international peace and security issues on the agenda of the United Nations Security Council, including the question of Western Sahara, the crisis in Libya, and the situation in the Sahel-Saharan region in general. The Minister of Foreign Affairs and the National Community Abroad, Ahmed Hattaf, has held a bilateral meeting with the UN Secretary General's personal envoy for Western Sahara, Staffan de Mistura. The meeting focused on efforts to relaunch the political process aimed at achieving a political solution that guarantees the Sahrawi people's right to self-determination ahead of the UN Security Council's examining of the Sahrawi issue in October. The UN Secretary General's personal envoy for Western Sahara, Mr. Staffan de Mistura, will visit tomorrow, Thursday, the Sahrawi refugee camps and meet the Sahrawi authorities in order to advance the process of a political settlement ahead of his briefing to the Security Council in mid-October. Algeria's permanent representative to the United Nations, Ahmed Berjameh, questioned the reasons preventing Morocco from organizing a popular consultation in Western Sahara on its so-called autonomy plan, if it were so interesting, also expressing surprise at the fact that Morocco has always refused to hold a referendum on self-determination in the Sahrawi territories. During his right of reply at the end of the general debate of the 79th session of the UN General Assembly, Mr. Benjameh responded to accusations of alleged interference by Algeria, recalling that since its independence, Algeria has always defended the inalienable right of oppressed peoples to self-determination, questioning the fact that the Moroccan representative had mentioned Algeria 20 times in 10 minutes during his speech on the Sahrawi question. The Algerian representative asked his Moroccan counterpart if Western Sahara was unchangeably the property of Morocco. Why did the International Court of Justice not recognize it?
J'ai deux questions à poser à mon frère, l'ambassadeur du Maroc.
I've got two questions to put to my brother, the ambassador of Morocco. The first question is, if this territory of the Western Sahara is so unchangeably property of Morocco, why did the International Court of Justice not recognize it? And why has Morocco accepted to share it with the neighboring Republic of Mauritania? I ask myself that question. Why would you share what is your own? That's the first question. The second question is, why be afraid of democracy? Why are you afraid of the referendum? Why are you afraid of freely and frankly asking the population of Western Sahara what they feel? MINURSO is in Western Sahara and it's waiting for authorization to organize this referendum for the good of the entire region.
That was Algeria's permanent representative to the United Nations, Amr Benjameh. Algeria's permanent representative to the United Nations office in Geneva, Rachid Bledhem, at the head of an Algerian delegation, is taking part at the 57th regular session of the Human Rights Council. In a statement to the participants at the meeting, Mr. Bledhem evoked the deteriorating human rights situation in the occupied Palestinian territories, calling on the international community to urgently take concrete actions aimed at putting an end to the Israeli occupation's violation of the Palestinians' human rights.
This shameful behavior, which flouts all international laws and norms, puts the whole region in a spiral of conflict and war, and warns of another humanitarian catastrophe. In this situation, Algeria calls on the conscience of the international community and urges it to take urgent measures, to take concrete steps for the benefit of the Palestinian people. Embargo on the supply of arms to the occupier and force it through the imposition of political and economic sanctions, to comply with all UN resolutions, accelerating the return of the UNRWA agency to resume its activities in Palestine by providing political and financial support, address the root causes of the situation in the Middle East, which are mainly manifested in the colonial occupation of the Palestinian territories, by redoubling international efforts to revive the peace process based on the two-state solution, with the creation of the State of Palestine on the 1967 borders with Al-Quds as its capital, and by guaranteeing the right of return for Palestinian refugees.
Mr. Bladhan reiterated Algeria's position and conviction that silencing guns is the only solution to restoring peace in the Middle East and ending the occupation of all Arab territories. The toll of Zionist genocidal aggression against the Gaza Strip has risen to 41,689 martyrs and 96,825 wounded since October 7, 2023. According to the same source, the Zionist occupation army has committed 5 massacres in the last 24 hours in the Gaza Strip, resulting in 51 martyrs and 165 injured. The Commissioner General of the United Nations Relief and Works Agency, UNRWA, Philippe Lazzarini, has said that the war in Gaza has become a nightmare, noting that the Palestinian enclave is now uninhabitable after almost a year of genocidal Zionist aggression. More details with Said Bougazi.
The UNRWA boss highlighted the plight of children who make up half the population of Gaza as they bear the brunt of the war, live through a painful, profound and continuous experience and lose hope of a better future. He said that at his meetings with member states in New York and Geneva, he had asked them to make education a collective priority, going beyond life-saving activities, adding that UNRWA had already begun a month ago, despite the complex environment, to put some children back into a learning environment. Philippe Lazzarini also said that a silent tragedy was unfolding in the West Bank, where Zionist attacks had led to widespread destruction of public infrastructure, imposing a de facto collective punishment on the population. The Commissioner General also discussed with the member states the continuing attack on the agency, noting that 223 UNRWA staff had been killed so far and that 2/3 of its facilities in Gaza have been damaged or destroyed. He called on member states to protect UNRWA's role in the transitional phase in Gaza, pointing out that only UNRWA is capable of providing large-scale education to hundreds of thousands of girls and boys in the Gaza Strip. Lazzarini was also keen to stress that UNRWA still suffers from a significant funding shortfall between now and the end of the year, and that the prospects for next year look a little bleak because a number of donors have indicated that they would introduce an austerity budget from 2025.
The Iranian news agency IRNA reported that the Revolutionary Guards of the Islamic Republic of Iran have announced the launch of missiles against Zionist enemy positions in occupied Palestine. You're listening to Radio Algeria International. Thank you for joining us.
Rising Issues, a weekly program presented by Najib Mila.
Artificial intelligence is reshaping